What's up guys, it's Chris Majestech here with Majestechs. I get a lot of questions related to Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi routers, so I want to do a quick Wi-Fi guide, so stay tuned. So we've all experienced Wi-Fi issues, whether it's having a crappy signal or if it's just your internet going out. Now, if your current router isn't really that old and you have less than 10 devices, there are a few things you might be able to do to make it work better. So the way that wireless signals work, they usually benefit from your router being up higher. So the first thing I normally tell people is to simply move your router up. So if you have it in your kitchen or in your basement, it may be beneficial for you to move it into your bedroom and you'll usually get better wireless coverage that way. And the second thing you can do if you're tech savvy is download an app, and the one that I use is called Wi-Fi Analyzer, and you can use this app to analyze Wi-Fi channels in your area to see if your router is actually using the best channel. And the third thing that you can do if you're having issues with signal strength is to add an access point. Now I always recommend that you use a wired access point. I don't really like using signal repeaters, but there are a lot of good access points out there that you can simply wire into your router and they'll give you a much better wireless signal. Now if you're going to buy a new wireless router, there are a few things you need to know. There are two wireless standards that you're gonna see out there. One is called wireless N and the other is wireless AC. Wireless AC is newer than wireless N and it uses a 5 gigahertz band, and wireless N uses a 2.4 gigahertz band. Now even though the 5 gigahertz band is faster, it doesn't travel as far as the 2.4 gigahertz band, so that's something to keep in mind if you're having issues with signal strength. Now even if you don't jump for a wireless AC router and you get a wireless N router, it still will work, it just won't be as fast. There are two things that confuse a lot of people when you're shopping for a wireless router. The first thing is what's called MIMO, and this is something you usually find on high-end routers, and it stands for multi-user, multiple in, multiple out. So before MIMO, even with high-end routers, they only handle one stream at a time, but they usually have a high-powered processor in them to help them handle the streams faster. So MIMO allows your router to handle multiple streams simultaneously, so you get a huge performance benefit from this. And the other thing that confuses a lot of people is AC numbers. So you'll see a router that says AC 1700 or AC 3200, AC 5400, and it's basically all marketing. What they're doing is taking the maximum speed of all the bands and adding them together. So let's use, for example, the AC 3200 router. So an AC 3200 router is going to be a tri-band router, which means it has two 5 gigahertz bands, and each one of those bands is going to support up to 1300 megs per second. And then you have the 2.4 gigahertz band, which supports 600 megs per second. You add all of those together and you get 3200. Now I normally categorize wireless routers into 5 different categories, and that's going to range from a cheap router that's going to cover a small area and a few devices to a really high-end router that's going to handle a lot of devices and have great signal coverage. And the first category is what I call the cheap category, and this category consists of wireless routers that are under $50. So these are usually going to work well for somebody that doesn't really have that many devices, you're not really a heavy user, and you have a small place like maybe a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. And it's usually going to be a wireless N router, and since it's a cheaper router, it's not really going to handle a lot of devices that well. And the second category is what I call the decent category, and these routers are going to range from $50 to $100, and they're going to be for the average user, and I usually recommend less than 20 devices. And the third category is what I call the legit category. So the legit routers are going to cost you anywhere from $120 to $220. They're going to be for a moderately heavy user, so they're going to handle more traffic. You'll actually start to see tri-band routers at this price point. And the fourth category is what I call the awesome category. So these are going to be high-end wireless routers, and they're going to cost $220 and up. And they actually have really great range, and they work for houses up to maybe 4,000 square feet. Now these things are going to have a lot of processing power, so they can handle a lot of devices, and they can actually handle really high speeds. And the one I'm using right now is a TP-Link C5400, and I have it paired with an Asus wireless NIC, and I'm actually achieving gigabit speeds over the air right now. And the fifth category is going to be for somebody that has a really large house, or maybe you have a house where you have some dead zones or some dead spots and you need some help with coverage. And that's what's called a mesh router. Now mesh routers aren't cheap. They're usually going to be around $300, and they're actually going to come with one main router and a few access points. So you would sit your main router on one floor and then you put your access point on different floors, or you can spread them out around your house however you see fit. But the idea is to have mesh coverage around your entire house. So these mesh routers are actually smart enough to move you between different access points with your devices to make sure that you have the best broadcast wireless signal at all times. Now the bonus category is going to be Powerline devices. Now there are not many situations where I would ever recommend someone to use Powerline devices, but if you're in a situation where maybe you're like in a cement room or you can't get a wireless signal and you really don't want to run cables, then you can use a Powerline device. And the way it works is basically it uses your existing power lines in your house. So it comes with a sender and a receiver. You plug one end where your wireless router is and wire it into your router. You plug the other end in the room wherever you need it and you wire your device into it. But they do have a few issues. One is that they don't work really well if you have old wiring in your house. Another issue is that you usually don't get anywhere near the speeds that they claim. And the third issue is that they're not that reliable, which is why I normally don't recommend them. All right guys, hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, please smash that like button for me. And I do want to hear your thoughts, so you can go ahead and post in the comments section and I'll respond to your comments. And thanks for watching.